Look, it's a generalization. Any one of you may be uniquely more similar to an American, and any American may be uniquely similar to a Canadian. But if you go back and you think about your beginnings as a country and the basis of it, and you think about our beginnings as a country, and then how we went like this, right? So we established ourselves out of rebellion. We were the rebel child, children of a common mother, but we just went haywire on the crown. And last I saw, the crown's still on your currency, and I saw King George III's, portrait in Parliament. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's the guy that caused us to do the whole Tea Party rebellion thing. So, and it's not just the crown, it's the concept of it. It's the concept of rebellion versus conformity. And I don't mean this in a negative way. In fact, there's some incredible positives to this outcome because, personalities end up getting driven that way and society gets developed that way. And we reinforce it over time, right? And so there have been events over the last several hundred years, and let's use Vietnam War as an example. I think my country's going crazy, and I'm been drafted, and I got to get the heck out of here, and I'm going to Canada. And yet, then again, there are people up here who may be greater risk takers and want different kind of experience, and they move to the United States. And so you do that back and forth over several hundred years, and you reinforce the basis of which our countries were founded. And so I do think, again, a generalization of sorts. And second of all, you are the second largest landmass country in the world with a population of 37 million people. And you have more resources of every type that would sustain virtually any country in the world of any size, including China. I mean, you have so much in terms of resources up here. And so, incredibly rich and prosperous country. And you've also had the benefit, we've had huge expense on the United States part, self-imposed, of military expense. Good news for you, you don't have to spend that money, because if anybody came over the top coming at us, the US and Canada have this joint agreement that we're going to take care of it, and you got the whole US military right there, right? Until you get Donald Trump walking around and go, who's paying for all this? But in all reality, you've had a long run, and it probably will continue, which gives you the flexibility of providing health care and education and doing these things, where countries like ours are, building bombs and doing all this other stuff. So these differences are profound. Decision-making processes are slower here, more thoughtful. I say process, you say process. I hear the word process, it means longer than process. So to me, somebody goes, hey, it's a process. And I'm like, oh, no, not again. That means get in line. And it's respect of the other. It's respect of the other. I was educating the mayor of Chicago today, and she says, my first time in Toronto, tell me something. Tell me something I don't know. I said, okay, I'll tell you something. I said, I went to Chicago, I came to Chicago about 1980. Call it 1981, but let's call it 1980. The population of Chicago in 1980 was 3 million people. And today it's 2.7 million. Down 10% in 40 years. At that same time, Toronto was 2.1 million. And today it's getting close to 3 million, city of, not metro. Okay? And I said, there's more than 1 million delta between Chicago and Toronto. And I said, for me, I think, I love Chicago, it's my hometown. I think the architecture is amazing. I think the lake's amazing. The food's amazing. Everything. I love Toronto too. But you're bursting at the seams here, right? Housing costs are really high, and your infrastructure is getting stretched, and everything else. But you're thriving. You're growing. You're doing it. Our city's shrinking, and which means we don't have the money to pay for all this infrastructure that we have maintained. And I said, "There's just how do they do that? How did they do that? How did that happen?" And I said, "Well, 52% of Toronto was not born in Canada." And she looked at me, "You mean not born in Toronto?" I said, "No, not born in Canada." And it's like, bing, light bulb. And so, just to try to understand, look, two Great Lakes cities, center of North America, started out as an industrial cities on the lakes, common kind of history, common geography, common climate, pretty common climate, and pretty common, but in all seriousness, you guys did this and we did this, and this wasn't so good for us. Now I said, we have gun violence, we have excess health care, we have high education costs, and I said, some of these are Canadian differences, some are provincial differences, some are city differences, but at the end of the day, it was a reality moment for her to sit down and say, wow, okay, get it.